Y'all, the Arcanist Tank is an absolute beast of a tank. If you're wanting to start tanking, or if you need a fresh perspective at tanking, then I would 100% recommend the Arcanist Tank. I've been asked for some time now to create a build guide for my Arcanist Tank. So, I'm going to give it my best to create this guide for those of you interested in running my build. Hey y'all, my name is Drew and I stream Elder Scrolls Online at twitch.tv/DrewYouOut. I run mostly 4-man content and I made an Arcanist Tank, which a lot of people have asked for a video breaking down my build. When the Arcanist Class released, I intentionally avoided looking up guides and breakdowns while I built this so that I could really get my own in-depth feel for the class itself. What I've come up with has been an amazing tank that works really well for me and is by far my favorite tank to use. I've ran multiple trifectas, perfectas, I've done all the dungeon hard modes with this tank build, and at the time of recording this video, I've also tanked multiple vet trials. Believe it or not, most times this build doesn't even require a healer, so you can run 3 DPS instead of 2 for far more damage and faster burn. For the record, I love my healers though, and a good healer will always make your life much easier, so keep that in mind. With all that being said, this tank build is more than capable of handling itself against some of the toughest bosses in the game, and I'm extremely happy to be able to share it with every one of you. Now, disclaimer y'all, I'm not making the claim in this video that this is the end-all be-all tank build, or that this tank build is better than any others that are out there. I just want to make sure everyone's aware of that. The purpose of this video is to provide y'all with the build that I personally run, in the chance that you want to run it as well. If not, that's perfectly fine too. So let's get right into it. First stop is race. I've always had the mindset that you should play the race that you enjoy. Don't get too hung up on the little details for the race. Each race is viable and changes very little in the grand scheme of things. So as you can see, I run a Breton. It's my favorite race, and honestly for this build, the magic sustain is amazing. For the Bretons, you get Gift of Magnus, which increases your max mag by 2,000. Spell Attunement, which increases your spell resistances and gives you extra mag recovery. And finally, you get Magicka Mastery, which reduces the mag cost of your abilities by 7%. You could go Nord or Imperial if you really want to optimize, but I always say play the race that you enjoy. As for the Mundus Stone, I run the Atronach Mundus for that extra mag recovery. For food and potions, I keep it super simple. As you can see, I run Bewitched Sugar Skulls for food, which increases max health by 4,600, max stam, and max magicka by 4,200, and it gives you some health recovery by 460 for 2 hours. And for potions, I run the trusty Tri-Stat potions. Now, I don't use these potions off cooldown unless I'm in a really tough fight. That's because I'm frugal and always trying to save my potions. But you can use them off cooldown for that extra level of sustain and ease. Now, the Tri-Stat potions that I use restore 8,500 health immediately. You also get health recovery for 40 seconds. You get 7,500 magicka immediately. You get magicka recovery for 36 seconds. And you get 7,500 stamina immediately, which gives you stamina recovery for 36 seconds. These potions are amazing, and I definitely recommend them. Now let's get into the gear that I use. As most of you know, running a tank can be very situational. However, the main gear that I run is my sort of all-around 4-man content gear, although sometimes changes are made for certain situations. For the body, I run perfected pearlescent body pieces. Each piece has a sturdy trait for reduced block cost and a prismatic enchant for extra health, mag, and stam. The reason I use this armor set is because it provides a unique buff Pearlescent Ward, which gives a boost to the group's weapon spell damage while everyone is alive, and damage mitigation while everyone is dead. What that means is, while everyone is alive, everyone receives the extra 180 spell damage, which will boost damage and doesn't conflict with any other named buff. On the flip side, let's say both your DPS and your healer are down, you'll receive 66% damage mitigation that will greatly increase the chance of being able to get a res off. Now this armor is out of Dreadsail Reef, which is a trial, and the non-perfected works just as well. I actually just recently got the perfected. I've been using the non-perfected for a very, very long time, so don't stress over having to get the perfected version. The second set I use is Drake's Rush. I use Drake's for a back bar only. What that means is that the set is only active on the back bar, but it's not an issue because it is extremely easy to proc and does not require both front and back bar. This set will come from Black Drake Villa. For the Ice Staff, I run Crusher Enchant, which reduces the target's physical and spell resistance by 2000 for 5 seconds with an infused trait. For the Amulet of Drake's Rush, I'm running the Alchemical Acceleration Enchant with the infused trait, which reduces the cooldown of potions below this item's level by 7.6 seconds. Which 7.6 seconds doesn't sound like a long time, but in a really tough fight, that 7.6 seconds can mean the difference between running out of resources and dying, or staying alive. As for the rings, I run the Bracing Enchant on both of them, which reduces the cost of block by 203. For the first one, I run the Triune trait, which increases max mag, stam, and health. And for the second one, I run Swift, which increases your movement speed by 6%, which will come in handy because you're a little bit slower on this build. Moving on to the front bar. For the front bar, I run the Master's Perfected Mace and the Master's Perfected Shield. Now, the cool thing about this set is it's a 2-piece set, so you're getting the bonus from wearing just the sword and the shield. Perfected adds about a 3% healing taking, but again, don't worry too much about the perfected versions. The standard versions will do just fine. You get this out of Dragonstar Arena, and whenever you deal damage with Puncture, which is your taunt, and guess what you'll be doing a lot of as a tank? Taunting. You heal for 6,000 health and gain spell and physical resistance equal to the amount of healing or overhealing done for 5 seconds. The healing scales off your max health, so every time I use Puncture, I'm healing for 6,000. Now I'm using the mace. You could use the sword, the dagger, the mace. It doesn't matter as long as it's a one-handed weapon that you can wear with a shield. This has just happened to be the one that dropped for me. I'm running the Weakening Enchantment, which reduces the target weapon and spell damage by 174 for 5 seconds with Decisive. When you gain ultimate, you have a 27.5% chance to gain one more ultimate. For the shield, we're running the Prismatic Enchant, which increases your max mag, health, and stam, and we have a Sturdy trait on there for that reduced cost of block. And last but not least, we got the monster set, which we're using Archdruid from Earthenroot Enclave with a Prismatic Enchant and a Sturdy trait. What this monster set's going to do is whenever you do a damage with a heavy attack, it's going to apply Major Vulnerability for 7 seconds, which increases the damage enemies take by 10%. This can occur every 15 seconds, so make sure you're doing heavy attacks every 15 seconds. Now, it's really cool because you don't actually have to do a full-blown heavy attack to proc this set. You can actually do what we call a medium attack. Here, let me go ahead and demonstrate. That is a full-blown heavy attack. Whereas this, medium attack. See how I didn't hold it as long? It's quicker, much quicker, especially in a fight. Makes a big difference. Here, let's head right over here to this guy. We're gonna media attack him. Easy peasy, just like that. Alright, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the video and look at the skills that I run. Some of these skills will be flex spots, so keep that in mind. But I run these skills probably 90% of the time. First skill on my bar, and probably one of the most important for survivability, is Impervious Rune Ward, which creates a shield that absorbs 30,000 damage for 1 second. There it is. And then a shield that absorbs 15,000 damage after that. So in that little demonstration, you saw my health bar buffed very high for 1 second. Then after that, the shield went down, but there was still a damage shield active. And there's a couple other things that this skill does. Like the first time you take damage, it does a little magic damage to your attacker. You can also heal yourself if you have Crux whenever you activate the shield. Next skill on bar is going to be Rune Guard of Still Waters, which is going to give you and your group minor resolve for 20 seconds, increasing everyone's armor by around 3,000. You will also gain minor protection for 20 seconds, reducing the damage you take by 5%. And the first time you are damaged while below 50% health, you'll heal for almost 13,000 health. Up next, we have Crux Weaver Armor, which gives you major resolve for 30 seconds, increasing your armor by almost 6,000. The skill will also apply Minor Breach for 6 seconds to anything that attacks you, reducing their armor by almost 3,000. It's also a nice little Crux generator. And here we have Pierce Armor, which will taunt the enemy for 15 seconds. Also applies Minor Breach and Major Breach, which reduces the enemy's resistances. And this skill will synergize really nicely with the Master Sword and Board for some healing. Okay, last skill in the front bar is Rune of the Colorless Pool. This skill will stun the enemy and apply Minor Vulnerability and Minor Brittle for 20 seconds, increasing the damage they take by 5% and increasing the crit damage they take by 10%. Moving on to our back bar, we have Silver Leash from the Fighters Guild. This is our chain to pull enemies in. And then next, we have Recuperative Treaties, which this one helps with sustain, but if I'm being honest, I just like the way this one makes your weapons look, so feel free to use this as a flex spot. And this is what I'm talking about. Doesn't that just look amazing? God, gotta love the Arcanist. Now on to the Green Ring, or Reconstructive Domain. This skill provides Minor Courage, a hefty 215 weapon and spell damage boost, along with Minor Fortitude, Minor Endurance, and Minor Intellect, which increase health, mag, and stam recovery by 15% to you and allies inside the circle. Next skill is our range taunt, Runic Embrace. This skill is going to taunt the enemy, along with doing a few other really cool things. It's going to give us a little bit of healing. It's going to apply Minor Maim and Minor Lifesteal, which reduces the enemy's damage done by 5% and gives you and allies a bit of healing. It's going to generate Crux, and it's going to give 2% damage mitigation per active Crux for being slotted on your bar. Runic Embrace has a range of 22 meters, which is a bit shorter than the alternative, Inner Fire, or Inner Rage, from the Undaunted skill line. That has a range of 28 meters. But in my opinion, it's worth the sacrifice for the utility that this skill brings. And the final skill in our back bar is Elemental Blockade, which is called Blockade of Frost while an Ice Staff is equipped. And this skill just gives a bit more damage mitigation for you and allies from the Frost Safeguard. The ultimate I run on front bar is Gibbering Shelter, which provides a fat 96,000 damage shield to you and gives group members a smaller yet still viable 16,000 damage shield. This ultimate is a great oh crap ultimate if you're in a sticky situation in a fight. It's relatively cheap, coming in at only 200 ultimate, and paired with Drake's Rush, you can have these back pretty quickly. My back bar ultimate is going to be Resignating Glyphic, and this ultimate is providing up to 200 weapon and spell damage to your group as long as they're around it. This is what the community calls the damage morph, because you activate this one by damaging it. The other morph you activate by healing it. So I run this one and just drop it right on the boss, and it gets cleaved down for maximum optimization. So in short, you're sort of running the Arcanist version of Barrier front bar and Warhorn back bar. And finally, we make it to the champion points. In the green tree, I'm rocking Treasure Hunter for increased quality of items and treasure chests. Next is Gifted Rider for an extra 10% mount speed. Up next is Meticulous Disassembly for deconning that gear. And finally, we have Steed's Blessing for an extra 20% movement speed. In the blue tree, we have all damage mitigation passives slotted. So we have Ironclad, 6% damage reduction for direct damage attacks. Enduring Resolve is 6% damage reduction for damage over time attacks. Duelist Rebuff, 6% damage reduction for single target attacks. And Unassailable is 6% damage reduction for area of effect attacks. For the red tree, I'm rocking Bastion, which is going to increase the effectiveness of our damage shields by 15%. Next, we have Bracing Anchor, which will give us an incredible 20% block mitigation, but comes at a cost of 16% movement speed reduction. We have Expert Evasion, which gives us a free dodge roll every 30 seconds. And finally, Boundless Vitality for additional health. I just wanted to do a quick demonstration and show you all the character sheet for this tank. Unbuffed, we're sitting at 19,000 spell resistance and 17,000 physical resistance. Now buffed, we've increased that to 30,000 spell resistance and 27,000 physical resistance. One final thing before this video comes to an end. I know some of you are looking at that resource pool thinking, bruh, this man's got more mag than stam. Yes, that is intentional. And give me just a second to explain, y'all. So with this build, there is a grand total of 8 skills between both bars that require magicka. Some of those skills require a bit more magicka than others, whereas only 2 skills require stamina. And with our block cost being reduced as much as it is, blocking doesn't eat up all that much stamina. So in my opinion, getting back mag from synergies instead of stam, because we have a bit more mag, is a good thing. Not to mention, for me personally, I find it easier in content to heavy attack with the sword to recover stamina than it is to heavy attack with the staff. I just wanted to clear that up though, so make sure if you want more stamina than magicka to correct that little detail in your own build. Well, that's it, y'all. That's my Arcanist build. I'm extremely happy with this build, and I get suggestions all the time about different ways to run it, different skills to use, but like I said, this build is what works for me. Hopefully this video can help some of you have a good start to Arcanist tanking, and maybe even get some of those sweet, sweet titles. But at the end of the day, remember to have fun, experiment, and play the game the way that you want to play it. If you liked the video, or if you found this video helpful, please drop a like and hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel to grow. And come check out the stream sometime. I stream 5 nights a week at twitch.tv/DrewYouOut. And I hope to see you in the next video. Much love, y'all. Peace!